Right, I'm being joined at this point by Mr. Spencer Critchley. Thank you, Mr. Critchley, for joining us. Firstly, the question looming is, what will the fallout of this verbal spat be? How will this affect US's military aid to Ukraine?
Well, I think that that's in grave danger, but as serious as that is, even more serious is the grave danger to the reputation and credibility of the United States and the entire post-World War II order. Essentially, President Trump has switched sides on behalf of the United States without consulting the American people from what amounts to the good guys to the bad guys, to put it in very simple terms. The United States, while not being perfect, has always been the leader of the coalition of the good guys. The good guys, if you believe that violent settlement of disputes and invasion of sovereign territories and deliberate targeting of civilians, etc., 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 is wrong, and you believe that negotiating disagreements peacefully and cooperation and freedom and democracy are good. The United States is now, thanks to President Trump, aligned with a gangster whose entire business is repressing his people so he can loot his own country and make himself one of the richest people in the world, who also is set upon a course of recreating the Russian Empire, apparently, by conquering sovereign nations and committing one war crime after another. So the future for Ukraine is looking very frightening indeed, since they can obviously no longer rely on the United States. And it's very frightening for the entire world because, as I say, the good guys of the world can no longer rely on the United States for as long as President Trump is in charge.
Right, Mr. Critchley, how do you read into Trump's trust in Putin? During the argument, he also said that he trusts Putin to uphold a ceasefire deal, while Zelensky, in fact, was insisting otherwise.
Well, this is just so childishly naive, and it's very often hard to tell with President Trump if he's a fool or a liar or both. I mean, he's demonstrated both repeatedly, and the difficulty is he acting the fool and the liar at the same time deliberately, or just can he not control himself? The idea of trusting Vladimir Putin on anything is on its face ridiculous. It's the kind of thing, the kind of decision a young child might make before having any experience of the world. And Trump has been doing this for many years, just deciding to trust Putin because Putin says you should trust me. It's incredible. It makes one also wonder what could possibly be behind this. Is it some kind of psychological fixation on Putin and desire to have his respect somehow, or does Putin have some kind of hold over Trump? But the idea of trusting him is absurd. And of course, President Zelensky needs to have a security guarantee to back up a ceasefire agreement. The ceasefire agreement itself could hardly be more worthless. Any ceasefire agreement with Vladimir Putin is no agreement at all. You can't make an agreement with a sociopathic criminal.
Right. And now that the UK has come forward and provided almost over £2 billion deal for Ukraine, this will bolster their military capabilities as well. Is that a start for more Europe nations to be coming forward for Ukraine and to actually give them more aid?
Oh, yes, I think so, and I certainly hope so. It'll be a challenge for them to match the kind of aid that the United States can provide. Another thing that President Trump constantly lies about, by the way, he grossly exaggerates the dollar amount of U.S. aid by multiplying it by about a factor of 3. But nevertheless, the kind of aid that the United States can provide, not just in weapons, but in all kinds of technical support and intelligence activities, I'm sure is very hard to replace. But Europe will have to replace it. The whole point of NATO is to defend Europe against Russian aggression. And without the American security guarantee for NATO, they have to fill that gap themselves. This is also self-defeating for the United States, of course. Why would we want to create another giant power block in the world that's another heavily armed competitor to the United States, as opposed to having all those countries as our friends.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Critchley, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this development.